This tutorial is for 3rd grade, Module 5, Lesson 24. In this lesson, we're going to use both number bonds and number lines to label fractions. The directions say write the number bonds as indicated, partition and label the number line to show the unit fractions of the number bond. And we need to remember to rename the 0 and 1 as fractions of the given unit. So let's take this one step at a time. I have a number bond. It's showing one whole, and the number bond is decomposing the one whole into two halves. 1/2 is considered the unit fraction. A unit fraction has a numerator of 1. So it's showing one of the fractions that makes up the whole. So this number bond matches the labeling on the number line. The number line is showing one whole. It has been divided into two pieces, each piece being 1/2. So I start with 0 halves at the 0 point, then I have 1/2, and I have another half. So each of these sections represents the halves that are on the number bond. The one whole point, though, is 2 halves, so we have to tell how many halves make up the one whole. So the number bond is showing us that one whole is made up of 2 halves, and the number line is showing us that one whole is made up of 2 halves. Here's another example. This time we're going to use our number bond to show thirds, and since I'm working with thirds, that means it takes 3 pieces to make the whole. So my number bond will be decomposed into 3 pieces. Each piece will be a unit fraction, or a fraction with a numerator of 1. And since I'm working with thirds, each unit fraction will be 1/3. So the number bond shows me one whole is made up of 3 copies of 1/3. Now I need to show that on the number line. My number line again shows me one whole. I'll divide it into 3 pieces, and I'll label each section starting with 0/3, 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3. So each of these sections represents 1/3, and that's what you see on the number bond. But when I mark those points on the number line, I have to show how many thirds I have in all at the end of each section. Let's look at one more example. This time I'm going to decompose my one whole into fourths. Since I'm working with fourths, that tells me I'm going to need 4 equal pieces. And now the unit fraction will be 1/4. So I have 4 copies of 1/4, and that makes up the one whole. Now we'll show those fourths on the number line. I'm going to start by dividing it in half, and then I'll divide each of those in half. That will give me my 4 pieces that make up the whole. I'll label them starting at 0. I have 0/4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. So each section is 1/4, and I have 4 sections. I have 4/4, and that equals one whole. Now let's take a look at a word problem. This says Taylor took his little brother to get pizza. Each boy ordered a small pizza. Taylor's pizza was cut in fourths, and his brother's was cut in thirds. After they had both eaten all of their pizza, Taylor's little brother said, "Hey, that was no fair. You got more than me. You got 4 pieces. I only got 3. And the question is, should Taylor's little brother be mad? What could you say to explain the situation to him? Well, the key here is that both boys ordered a small pizza. So that would imply that they both got the same type of pizza. So we're going to draw a picture of each pizza, making them pretty much the same size. And we'll call this one Taylor's pizza, and this one we'll I'll put a B for brother. Well, Taylor's pizza was cut into fourths, and his brother's pizza was cut into thirds. So his brother is correct when he says, you got more pieces. But his mistake isn't thinking that because Taylor got 4 pieces, he got more pizza. If the pizzas were the same size, it doesn't matter how many pieces you cut them into, they're each going to eat the same amount of pizza. We could say that Taylor's pizza would represent 4/4 or 1 whole pizza, and his brother's pizza would represent 3/3, which is also 1 whole pizza, which means they had the same amount of pizza.